No Loyalty on May 1st, written by Benjamin Blowe, read by Stephen Leger. The beginning of this month marked yet another May Day, a day that has represented many political sentiments throughout history. First and foremost, May Day is a global celebration for the achievements of workers in their struggles for organized labor. Chosen by the Chicago workers to commemorate the show trial and execution of the martyred Haymarket anarchists in 1886, May Day, or International Workers' Day, is a day that belongs to the working class and is dedicated to the revolution, as Eugene Debs put it in his 1907 May Day editorial. For those unfamiliar, the labor significance of May Day originates from the efforts of the 8-hour movement campaigns in the 19th century Chicago labor movement. Through their work, much of what today's workers now appreciate came to be. Now we continue their fight for global worker autonomy, hoping to spur that same ongoing determination. May Day has historically embodied the concerns of those of us on the left, and more particularly, the libertarian left. With that said, we must not only take note of the many directions that others have attempted to assimilate our day, but ask ourselves what we can do to permanently assign it to the ideology behind full worker emancipation, which is undoubtedly anarchism. I believe the answer is found within the liberated market, by freeing all notions of what is currently viewed as the state's hold on the rule of law. Since 1886, there have been many attacks on the celebratory significance of May Day. President Grover Cleveland and his cabinet set out to divide the international working class with the construction of Labor Day in 1887. Marxist-Leninists also tainted May Day in the early 20th century by tying it to establish their beloved workers' states, ruled for the benefit of their fellow Bolsheviks. Here I wish to focus on a far more subtle event that subverted May Day just as harshly as the previous aims by pro-government colonizers. On May 1st, 1961, under President Eisenhower's backing, Congress passed a joint resolution that established that day as Law Day, a day the American Bar Association describes as a national day set aside to celebrate the United States rule of law, also called Loyalty Day or Law and Order Day. Law Day is an offense to not just the global working class, but those who take laws and government accountability most earnestly. Anarchist. In the words of F. A. Hayek, law is too important a matter to be left in the hands of government. Readers of the New Leveler are likely to not only subscribe to Hayek's point, but take it further. With our support of markets and law, and combating the state's use of its monopoly product, of course, I would expect neither the conservative nor the liberal in 1960s America to possess sympathy with any part of the market anarchist position of reducing law to the freed marketplace. So from this view, one of the considerable suspicions, it's odd to find that the partisans in Congress who supported the construction of Law Day couldn't develop any meaningful content behind it. It failed to gain general notice by the American population, much like it failed to become an officially recognized government holiday. It became an ineffective attempt to relate to the labor class as it gave no time off to lawyers, police, or any working class member of the legal apparatus. Instead, Law Day was used to tout the virtues of the United States, as presented in 1960 by politicos like Senator Wiley, who reminded Americans of the words carved on the Worcester, Massachusetts courthouse, "Obedience to law is a liberty." The same tactic was used in 1964 when the president of Connecticut Bar wrote against civil rights demonstrators, labor unions, juvenile delinquency, and Liz Taylor, all of which were more than likely to be supporters of May Day. This should all be no surprise from the elites. As anybody critical of the state understands, governments will justify their existence by any means necessary in maintaining ideological hegemony, with the tools they'll argue were created by the art of their own hand. These tools are in desperate need of dissolution. But this does not mean anti-statists should pressure state law by smashing government windows on their way to their local May Day assembly, let alone irrelevant goose chases like hassling Uber drivers. Rather, our protestations should take the form of establishing our own tenets within counter-institutions that could create the competitive dual power relation between distributed safe zones, pockets of social counterpower, and the state's own stolen territory. What I am suggesting is that which was much familiar among Benjamin Tucker, Dyer Lum, William Green, and others of the 19th century free market anti-capitalist radical labor sect. Their rhetoric was in harmony with the IWW, in looking to produce a new society within the shell of the old. The desire to generate consensual law syndicates of free association should not be seen as something out of touch with the contemporary efforts of May Day, which finds the majority of its politics in promoting social justice and contesting greater attacks of professionalized theft on us, the working class. While the politics of the youth, women, immigrants, human rights organizations, the LGBTQ, and fellow workers will surely be shown within today's global marches, it's just as important to ensure that our prefigurative politics are openly advocated within these demonstrations also. Law Day's prideful claim on valuing the American people and their liberties under the state's empty strive for equality and justice under law is an absolute strategic deception. Anybody worth the nerve to call themselves an anarchist and an unforgiving supporter of May Day should surmise that the United States' absolute constitutionalism is best dissolved in place of our own legislative capture. Such a vision can be described as localized market liberal panarchies, where all goods and services are exchanged within voluntary associations of jurisdictional arbitrage. The beginnings of these relations can be built today by trading our present relations in for communitarian ones. These relations manifest when we're carrying our signs next to our brothers and sisters, looking out for one another, and continuing our stride for a better tomorrow. Here, the Lockean consent of the governed can become an honest phrase insofar as the choice in which where one will live and who one will associate with within an open stateless society is by all means up to their own unbridled volition. So in honor of May Day, let's look to the end of global militarism, corporate power, borders, and all status hegemony. Let's strive toward individual worker empowerment by remembering fallen workers and yearning to free all markets, to continue fighting like hell for the betterment of workers who are still alive today. And lastly, let's forever contest Law Day and government loyalty with establishing jurisprudence outside of the state. With that said, workers of the world, unite.